Self-publishing my first book was definitely a journey for me. It wasn't something that I was really anticipating on doing at the time that I did it, but it just kind of happened. It really started from back when I was a kid, and I always thought that having by Jeremiah Pouncy or written by Jeremiah Pouncy would be the absolute hardest thing known to man, and I don't know, it just kind of stuck with me from that point forward. And then in the height of the pandemic is where I found myself having enough time to actually go for it and do it. And that's honestly how a lot that I've been able to do over these years has actually happened. It's not because I planned it all out, which I do plan stuff out, but it's not as if everything that I plan out actually goes to plan. It's more so that I find the time to make what I want happen, and I won't wait for anybody or anything to tell me that I can do something or when is the right time to actually do something. So I honestly just went ahead, had a dream, told some people about it. They thought it was pretty cool, so I was like, why not just go in and write a book? So my very first book that I wrote, Awakening of the End, and written by Jeremiah Pouncy, is still crazy to me. And essentially it's a story of the intertwining lives of 8 students in South Africa that have to fight for their lives against this invisible string that connects everybody, also known as pain. I believe that we all experience pain, and I feel like if we were all able to better empathize and sympathize with one another, then the world would be such a much better place. And that's kind of what gave me the inspiration for my first book. The main character, his basically superpower is to be able to take on the emotional and physical pain of others and then convert that into power to fight evil. And that's kind of like my little, I don't know, play on words, on double entendre. And honestly, it's just really crazy to think about the fact that I've been able to go through this entire process for my future. And I wrote a little note to myself. I don't know if you can see it, but it says, "Keep going, future me." Signed, myself, on October 11th of 2020. Yeah, it's just crazy. The fact that I was able to go forward and do what I needed to do in order to get this book published, I feel like shows a lot of resilience in myself, but also that you don't have to come from a family of authors. You don't have to go to writing school to be able to have your own book. If you have a story, just go through the process and share it. There's so many different platforms I personally use. Amazon's self-publishing platform, and it worked out well for me. And eventually I want to be able to get to a publishing company, but you got to start somewhere. And then that's kind of what led me to my next book, His Burdens, which is a collection of short stories and poems from one of the characters in my first book, actually. So if you read the first book, you'll know who the character is. But yeah, I wanted to get into short story writing and poem writing just to try and improve upon my storytelling skills, as well as begin to build this sort of universe in this world that I've been writing about for these past few years. And it's the sort of thing that you can read one and you can still get something out of it, but then if you read all the short stories or poems, then you'll be able to get the entire picture of everything. And that's what I really want everybody to get out of it, that you can read one and you can get the picture of everything, but if you actually go into it and you read absolutely everything, then you'll actually be able to understand the masterpiece of this world that I'm trying to build. And I say all of this to say that if I can do it with the spare time that I have, you can do it in the spare time that you have. It's most definitely far from easy. It's most definitely does not take a little amount of time. But if you really want to get to it and you actually want to write a book, then you can actually do it. When I began writing, I started writing in my, I don't even know what it was. It was like a really old composition notebook that I've had since I was a kid, with this really old pen, this old pink pen that I also used to have as a kid. And I literally wrote the first over half of the book simply by hand, which I actually found out was not the best idea, because after that, I had to go back and type everything into the system. But it ended up working out, got it done, and now I'm here. I was actually able to have a book signing at the campus bookstore in Barnes & Noble, which to me, I was really excited about. I don't really know how exactly God was able to make everything happen, but through a connect, So people found out that I was writing a book and gave me the opportunity to have my own book signing at the Barnes & Noble, which we eventually sold out. So again, I want to thank everybody that was able to get me to that point and inspire me to do everything that I did. Cause yeah, we sold out, and yeah, feels good. It definitely feels good. But I feel like one of my biggest takeaways from the entire experience is the fact that you really can't plan out or map out the trajectory of your life. I couldn't have imagined writing my first book during the pandemic, having some newspapers wanting to pick it up, being able to schedule a book signing and ordering all the advertising, all the pamphlets, all the posters for the book signing, all for none of that to happen. But then that all transitioned into me writing my second book over the course of a year or so, and being able to have a book signing at one of the biggest book retailers in the world. So really, I'm saying all of this to kind of convey the fact that you don't have to be prepared for everything that you want to do. All the dreams that you had as a kid, you can accomplish them. It may not be exactly in the specific time or in the specific order that you want them to, but when you have that opportunity, I say take it. I don't think I'll ever say to stay stagnant. You gotta put yourself in uncomfortable positions. I didn't know how many books I was gonna sell my first book signing. I didn't know how many books I was gonna sell when I wrote my second book. I didn't know anything in relation to the book writing process, but I knew I always had that dream when I was a kid. So I had to make little Jeremiah proud. So yeah, I really don't know how to end this necessarily, but I just wanted to start coming on here and sharing some stories about my life and how I've gotten to where I am today, and hopefully be an inspiration to you that no matter what dreams you had at any stage in your life, especially since you were a kid, that you can accomplish them as long as you put on the time, effort, and energy to actually be able to accomplish them. And yeah, go cop my books.